Now, when you come out of Brixton Station, if you go right, if you're going left, okay, you will end up near Windrush Park. And this is the memorial to those men and women from Africa and the Caribbean who served in both world wars. It says here, in memory of the servicemen and women from Africa and the Caribbean who served alongside the forces of the British Commonwealth and her allies during World War I and World War II, remembering the forgotten. Africa and its diaspora has been part of British military history since Roman times, from the North African Legion stationed in Hadrian's Wall in the 3rd century to the descent of the Windrush generation. This fallen stones honor those service personnel from Africa and the Caribbean who aided the United Kingdom in both world wars, on sea and land and in the sky. Merchant Navy and Royal Navy. African Caribbean Merchant Navy Seaman 1914-1945, Nigerian Marine Department 1914-1918, SS Mendi 1970, Trinidad Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve 1939-45, African Caribbean Royal Navy Seaman 1940-1945, African Carrier Labour Pioneer and Native Military Corps. Over 2 million men between 1914 and 1945 provided the 2 world wars from Botswana, Kenya, Lesotho, Malawi, South Africa, Swaziland, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia and Zimbabwe, West African Frontier Force and Royal West African Frontier Force, Gambia Regiment 1914-1918, Gold Coast Regiment, now Ghana, 1914-1918, Nigerian Regiment 1914-1918, Sierra Leone Regiment 1914-1918, 11th and 12th African and 81st and 82nd West African Divisions of the British Army 1914-1945. Here. Military service, Togoland, Cameroons and East Africa campaigns were all won. These were all German colonies that were invaded by the British and the French. And East African and Burma campaigns. So in Burma, a lot of the West African nations and all of the British colonies in Africa fought in Burma. Yes, Burma campaigns were all won. King's African Rifles and other African forces. Now that's a familiar name because I've seen a few King's African Rifles graves in Singapore. Malawi King's African Rifles Battalion 1914-1945. Kenyan KAR Battalion 1914-1945. Uganda KAR Battalions 1914-1945. Somaliland Camel Corps and Scouts 1914-1945. Somaliland King's African Rifles Battalion 1939-1945. Tanzania King's African Rifles Battalion 1917-1945, North Rhodesian, that's now Zambia, North Rhodesian Regiment 1914-1945, Rhodesian Native Regiment / Rhodesian African Rifles 1914-1945, Sudan Defence Force 1939-1945, 11th and 12th African and 11th East African Divisions of the British Army 1914-1945, Military Service East African Campaign in World War I and World War II, Invasion of Madagascar, Western Desert, Italian and Burma campaigns in World War II, West Indian Regiment and British West Indian Regiment. Drafted from the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, British Guyana, that's now Guyana, British Honduras, which we now call as Belize, Grenada, Jamaica, the Leeward Islands, which is in the north of the Caribbean, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Trinidad and Tobago, Military Service, Western Front, Cameroon, East African, and Palestinian campaigns. So this is kind of close, because David Lammy, he went to Kenya and he saw British West Indian regiments on a war memorial, and he put his hand and he said, these are the men whose ancestors were taken out of Africa, put on the boats across the Atlantic, and put into slavery in the Caribbean, and then they were taken from the Caribbean in World War I, and they died in Africa. Air crew and ground crew, African Caribbean pilots and ground crew of the Royal Flying Corps and Royal Air Force 1979-45, West Indies Auxiliary Territorial Service, Caribbean woman in the Women's Branch of the British Army 1943-1945, Caribbean Regiment. Caribbean branch of the British Army includes the Bermuda Military Artillery and Infantry 1940-95, Military Service Italian Campaign Egypt. Quite surprised to mention Bermuda because there are a couple of Bermudians who are buried on the Western Front from World War I and to all forgotten. Research and design by Johnny Alexander Belula Dud, aka Jack Bellew, unveiled by Mayor L.B. Davis on the 22nd of June 2017. So that was only this was unveiled like a few weeks after I moved to London. And this side, the African Caribbean War Memorial, was created by Nubian Dia Community Trust in partnership with the West Indian Association service personnel in support of the Heritage Lottery Fund, Lambeth Council, and the Black Culture Archives and Medicine Ltd. So there we have it, yeah. Don't forget to visit this memorial when you come to Brixton.